Okay. Look. Welcome to Day 9 Daily number 723, where we learn to be a better gamer. Part 1, we kind of showed the setups of Mr. Classic here. How he's gotten himself to this nice spot, and I think the thing that I spend most of the time looking at on the Zerg end is, look at how no gas Zerg has. He is low on gas and low on options. So, as Protoss, Classic doesn't necessarily need to worry hugely about Colossus for swarm hosts. He sees Mutalisks, and you can only really afford to do one gas-heavy thing as Zerg on 3 bases. So cool, the natural response against Mutalisks is to build a lot of cannons in the vulnerable locations, and begin getting a whole bunch of Phoenixes, which is precisely what we see. Now, if you'll recall, there were these 2 gas geysers built quite early at this 3rd base, and they are coming into significant use here. This is a broke on gas Protoss, and we'll see quite a few Zealots in here. To be able to have the army that Classic has, necessarily these geysers had to have popped down quite a bit earlier. So I think the choice from Classic is clear. Stalkers, Immortals, Zealots if he can't afford to throw down additional Stalkers, and just a lot of Phoenixes and a lot of teching up to Phoenix range upgrade. I think he also lost the mothership core, which is fine. Yeah, so there's the extra Zealots. Nice. So I want you to continue to note that what Zerg's doing is kind of what we would expect. Oh, I have freedom. I have an opportunity. I'm now going to re-expand those 2 places that I could not before. But these geysers are going to take a while to kick in and become useful. Obviously, having committed to Mutalisks, SoO's just continuing to commit to Mutalisks. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can cover this action a little more easily. Classic. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything really amazing here. I mean, Zerg's kind of committed now to this one tech path, so Classic is committed to the answer. Stalkers, Pulse Crystals, and Phoenixes. Oh my. I don't think we're actually going to spend terribly much longer on this. But Classic takes down these photon cannons. Or, excuse me, constructs these photon cannons, builds more photon cannons at his 3rd, building cannons at the vulnerable locations. Overbuilding cannons is what I would definitely recommend against Mutalisks. And in one of the more funky choices that I think we would see a player do, most of the time Protosses are obsessed with just taking this as their 4th base on this map. In fact, all players pretty much go, well, here's my 3rd, here's my 4th. Sometimes players take this as the 4th. But I think this is a very smart move. If this is vulnerable to a counterattack at this area, we're going to have to build cannons at it anyways. Same thing with this. We're going to have to build cannons at this natural expansion anyways. So if you look at the mini-map, there's actually this wall that you've created with blocking here from these cannons and blocking here from these cannons. So if this is sort of blocked off, you have a natural outpour this way where you move your units, while knowing that these sides are roughly safe. This is also smart because Classic would like to attack, and he is expanding along the direction of attack. So cool, Pulse Crystals are down. It's time for Classic to go, go, go. And up and away he goes. Now, something that I think is pretty amazing to note is that SoO has taken this base. He has geysers and all that. The only new transitionary unit that we see is the Infestor. Just 3 Infestors. Look at the production. There's no other big influx of heavy gas-based stuff. Now, there is enough money for SoO to suddenly get, like, well, obviously 16 swarm hosts. But he doesn't have the supply because he's devoted so much time and energy to doing this. There's no real good opportunity for Zerg to smoothly transition to that sort of play. Getting hit by fungals stinkers, but it's stinkering worse for Zerg. So we can see the Classic is still just keeping kind of the same theme of he wants to pressure these, he's just waiting to build up a nice good army for this. His counterattacks obviously have to be dealt with. Photon cannons here help deflect. But as the Zerg aggression begins to abate, SoO, who is trying to transition out of this, he's trying to begin to get something else more notable, more sturdy, more gas-based. He can only really do that transition in slow motion. So, here's something that I think will be weird if you're trying to apply this strategy for your purposes. The feel that you will have if you are playing like Classic, and not even playing just as well as Classic, just playing like roughly equivalently close to what Classic's doing, you will have the feeling of, oh, I can just go kill Zerg. And you'll just go kill him and you'll get a win. SoO is doing an unbelievably good job of spending all his additional funds on units and plays that will buy him more time. Things like, excuse me, this. Things like this. Hell, even these little roach maneuvers. He'll be doing lots of those. Most Zerg players are not that good, so you'll just kill them. This is taking Classic a little bit of time because he is up against a Zerg player who's so good at buying and delaying. But I want you to see this supply count right here. Remember that suggestion that may have popped into your brain a little while ago? Oh, well, why don't I just sacrifice some of my Lings and Roaches and rebuild them into useful units? Well, here's what would happen right after that sacrifice. Or in this case, right after the loss of units. Protoss would just attack you and rip all your bases to shreds. Even though this base was a casualty, the more important thing is that SoO, who was boxed into basically one big gas play, which he chose to be Mutalisks, he was boxed into one play because he didn't have a fourth and a fifth. And because he was boxed into that one play, the instant the army begins to dwindle, or there's a big loss on the Zerg side, Protoss leaps into action. This is just beautiful. Really just delightful play. So, I mean, Classic comes up and kills this. He doesn't rush up and drill in and try to kill every single base. He's just trying to lock out of the fourth and the fifth. Same thing. Drilling up here, lots of scary units. Scary, 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 scary. Queens and all that stuff. A lot of zealots because we spent all our gas on other things. Basically, one Colossus, not a huge amount. This is what happens. And I think if you try to do this strategy or this style, your instinct will be to want to slow down on the gateway production and begin to get the big scary units like the Colossus and stuff. But if you just get enough basic units and stay aggressive, which is the most important part, you can just go kill them a lot, and you don't really need that much. Once Protoss has locked a Zerg out of a fourth and a fifth, he just chills, man. There's no need to go hog wild. There's no need to go nuts. He sees the switch in tech. He does his own switch in tech. There's the Twilight Council. There's the Templar Archive. Still on just 6 gateways. One of the leanest gateway productions you ever did see. Getting Archons now. Mostly Zealots, Stalkers, other things. Oh my. Now, isn't this just purty? Isn't it just purty as can be? Oh, now I think that's just purty. Love it. Mr. Classic. Oh, I love it, love it. Cannot not get enough of it. Oh, wait, are you trying to retake that base? Well, I have an answer for you. Right as it is coming up. Not sooner. Right as it's coming up, marching on up. Marching on up. Boom. So sexy. Let's look at another game that uses roughly the same principles. A standard looking build. I think it's set 4. Set 5. Set 5. This is the 5th game that they played. It's on Overgrowth. We're going to see kind of a normal-looking build. Nothing too amazing about the build in terms of uniqueness. But we're going to see, again, being more proactive with those basic, typical units, and just trying to shut the Zerg out of a 4th and a 5th as the primary goals. I think that last game was just such a fantastic example of how economy interacts with composition, because very often we want to think of what unit is good against what unit, you know, like immortals are good versus roaches. Well, I mean, I guess, but at no point in time do you just get to click the immortal button. You have to buy the thing. I mean, an immortal costs 250 minerals and 100 gas. Well, how many roaches can you make with 100 gas? We can make 4, but you also need 400 minerals. So, there's a weird comparison in there that all comes back to the underlying economy. You could say, well, obviously, Classic should be going for Colossus in this mixture. That's going to be really good. Or he could spend all that gas being aggressive early, and then SoO will never really have anything that's too threatening that would demand a Colossus. It's all about just battering your opponent down and keeping him low on bases so that you never need any of your fancy stuff because he can't get his fancy stuff. In this case, Classic opens up with a Gateway Pylon play, which is a mostly fast expansion, I might say. Mostly fast. Taking an extractor, oh me oh my, how devious. This is kind of annoying. This is also kind of cute by SoO to be doing this play. I mean, Classic's going to be able to do something that's pretty benign. If your opponent takes a gas in your main base, just don't overreact. You can always get a gas geyser here. Which is, I think, what he does, yeah. Throws that one down, no big deal. This is done. Warp Gate comes up right away. Mothership Core comes up shortly thereafter. 2 Zealots are out. Minerally things. Ah, oh, lovely. Oh yes, lovely. So we have a 3-gate opening. A very common opening for Protoss. I love gateway openings in this matchup, by the way. The Gateway is my favorite unit versus Zerg. Forge coming up on the backside, getting additional assimilators while this is going on. All's good, all's good, all's good, all's good in the hood. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything more normal looking than this. Get away with the warping and things to kill overlords. Normal, 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 normal. Getting gateways into warp gates. Normal, 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 normal. Gateways coming up. Normal, 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 normal. Getting sentries. Normal, normal. Jesus, I should have fast-forwarded this. Getting this base. Cool. Alright, now here's a position where we would typically see the Protoss player stay way defensive. But look at what we see. Classic just gets this walled off enough and then immediately pushes. Here's that Twilight Council to get that blink. Here's that Forge getting that +1. Let's take a look at the SoO cam. He has the Zerglings at these locations. SoO's gone for a very, very fast layer, but it's only just finished. Here's the Roach Warren. Here's the Hydralisk Den. 62 drones out. Some Zerglings getting produced. Here comes Classic. Again, just waited barely long enough for the photon cannon to begin to get produced. Just barely, just a pinch. Verily, barely. Yeah, look at that. Going over the 16 probe mark. Just so many probes here. Getting gateways very slowly. Walks all the ass way forward. And look at this answer from SoO. 4 spine crawlers. 4. Count them, 4. How many Zerglings do we have? We have 30 out and 12 more being made. Holy butts. And Classic literally walked forward, walked back. So good. And it's this little move that I find just gets me so happy. The move forward and the move back caused a very strong reaction out of SoO. And now we have the +2 and the blink coming up. A snuck-in attack. Just a side note, I think that this placement, classic, is correct. I think it's very natural to want to wall like this, and to place buildings like here. But the most important thing to defend this base is the ability for your army to be able to get over here. You can throw down force fields like this, and then trap some Zerg units there, thanks to this opening. So I like the way that these gateways are held very, very reserved back. And yet again, we don't see any conservatism with these gateways. They're cranking out a lot of units throughout this. And all the more Phoenixes. Swift little robo, more of these guys coming out, more pylons coming out. Yeah, cool. So the opening game, we can see the sort of same themes. And that first push helped to delay this. These 4 spine crawlers that got built here would have really loved to be a calm drone just taking a 4th base before 10 minutes. That would be really, really grand. That would feel nice. But Classic did these very nice little walk forward, walk back moves. So great. Look at this. Oh, that wall's so great. Ooh. And then the same sort of usual jazz with getting a warp prism to help reinforce the attack. A robo bay to be our next step transition. Base 5, base 4, going down. So what's a classic to do? Alright, let's go to the classic camera. The classic camera. Picking off extra units, nice. So we see the warp prism moving this way. Why might the warp prism move in this way? Well, we see hydras and lings and roaches. This indicates what our opponent is doing. Recall what happened in the last game. In the last game, when Classic moved out, he saw mutas. He was sending this warp prism kind of around in a wide pattern, and then he saw mutas. In fact, he saw lings and roaches first, which left open the possibility for mutas, but now in this one he sees hydras. So whereas before we saw 2 stargates, now here we see 2 regular gates. Classic can do the usual pushes and throw down the usual infinity of force fields that makes the ladies weep. Throwing down extra time warps there, continuing to maintain presence. I think it's easy to want to snap recall here, but that's going to make this way weaker, man. And look at the production tab. Hydralisks coming out rather than Mutalisks. Nice little attack play, and not a big commitment into the main base either. A relatively minor commitment, and one that allows this to happen. Remember, killing 4ths and 5ths is what it's all about. Blinking to reposition, so grand. The Colossus is rallied inward, very nice. All the units being rallied forward so they can join together to provide a protected retreat. And once again, a re-Caesaring of the rest of the map. Now, what most of the time seems very instinctive to do is to retreat, is to pull back, build things up, and chill. Not with this style of Protoss. You begin attacking, and until you have a reason to retreat, you just don't. I don't even think the Mothership core got rebuilt. Yeah, just continued attacking, continued warping in here. It's not actually a very gas-focused thing. It's not like get a whole bunch of Colossus, get a whole bunch of Templar. It's very gateway-focused. It's cool. And all these attacks keep revealing for SoO, or keep revealing for Classic what the heck's going on. And all of a sudden some Zerglings appear. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? We have a reason to defend now. Hey, what do you know? It's Mutalisks. Cool. Well, in the meantime, these Zealots are bringing the noise hard. So I get this a lot, where, you know, someone will watch what Classic's doing. Like, here's the question that I get so many times. Alright, let's pull. I'm trying to get right to 15 minutes. This is awesome. And you know what, Starscree? I agree. Let's call this Swarm Toss. This is the Swarm Toss style. So here's what will typically happen. This is the moment when someone will be watching a game, where they'll see this Protoss player have 2 measly cannons, have no cannons here, have no cannons here. There's a Protoss army that's way far down. There's this small force that I think most people would recognize that Classic could retreat. But at this moment, so many people ask, well, Classic, doesn't he die to a Mutalisk? Or die to a Mutalisk attack? Doesn't he die to a counterattack? I mean, it looks like SoO's in pretty good shape, and this is where we're actually going to get the chance to see exactly how this goes. You can be really aggressive, and because you are dealing so much damage with these sorts of drop plays, the instant they try to do some crap like this, watch how badly it goes for SoO. It's not going to be pretty in Classic's main base by any means. Obviously, these sorts of splits are tricky to do. These are getting repelled. These Hydralisks are getting chased down. We've gotten the chance to kill off quite some workers. Even the War Prism's pulling back. And you can look at the supply counts and see that Classic's actually not doing very well at all. Or excuse me, that SoO is not doing very well at all. Classic is continuing to do these like annoying Zealot warp-ins wherever and what have you. And soon enough, SoO actually has to pull his Mutalisks back for defense. There's too much damage going on in too many places. And yeah, there's 17 Hydras, but they just had to deal with a big pack of Stalkers chasing them down. You can stay very, very aggressive if you're constantly producing out of your gateways. And then we see the usual stuff. Building lots of photon cannons back home. Nice. Locking this player out of bases. Now, if you're... look at how smart this is. Classic begins an attack and sees nothing. Oh, well, if you're not defending your base, you're probably doing some sort of counter. I mean, what we can see is that no, indeed, no counter is happening. Does it matter? No, of course not. Classic's just being safe, because this attack is clearly already won. Locking this Zerg player out of a base. This is kind of mining, this is kind of mining. And of course, Classic can now sweep around to the other side. Deal a lot of damage over there. More Zealots coming down to this side. I mean, this is... attacks here, doesn't see anything, just pulls back to middle to deal with the counters. Locking the Zerg out of another base. He flunked too early. Oh, it's so good. So we see a Zerg who's been massing Mutalisks. Oh, so intimidatingly. Colossus count is at 1. And because there's so many mutas, I mean, Classic just keeps kind of throwing Zealots in there. We see as Zealots get thrown in there, the Stalkers can just go straight to where the mutas are. Basically, Stalkers want to be exactly where the Mutalisks are. They want to live in the world on top of the mutas. At no point did Zerg ever really get to do counter damage. It is so elegant. It is so sexy. So smexy. I mean, I think what I want to do is the same sort of thing that we did in the previous game. Which is where we rewatch it at a much faster clip so we can see it all kind of happening in action. Because those first few attacks that happened in the early game are dictating a lot. Oh yeah, SoO just left. Because this is what SoO had. He had a not mining base here. He had no base here. He had a one hope left base here. And here is a small amount of Lings and Mutas and stuff that tried to counterattack. In fact, during a counterattack, that's when SoO left the game. So I want to come back to... Nope, not the 5-minute mark. I want to come back to the 8-minute mark. Okay. Okay, come to the 8-minute mark with me. Alright. SoO's doing his usual thing of getting up a fast layer for fast Hydras. Ooh! Push moves out. What happens? So many Lings, so many Lings, so many Lings. Moving real far forward. Throwing down a Phoenix with those so many Lings. And then walks right back. All these Lings are money that SoO would have rather spent taking an expand, but he can't. So now Hydras are getting built. Hydras, Hydras, Hydras. Why Hydras? Because Classic is definitely going to be adding on more gateway units. For sure. For sure. And Classic follows up with his Robo and all that stuff. For sure Classic's going to be moving out with Blink +2. So a couple Hydras get built. And while that's going on, all the money that would have been a nice 9-minute fourth had to get delayed till now. And maybe another base will go down. A Spire seems like a nice play here too. So SoO begins to get it. So in the Zerg's eyes, Zerg's going, oh my god, yes. I've got him held back. He can't attack me because I got too many Hydras, and I'm preparing a transition. I'm preparing to stop getting Hydras and to start getting air. Classic says no. And begins to do a really big attack, which causes what? Wow, look at that. 30 more seconds till the Spire's done? Oh god, we gotta get Hydras if we want to stay alive now. Lots of Hydras seems like the only thing that SoO can do. So suddenly the transition's delayed. First, this base and this base got delayed. Second, a transition to different units gets delayed. Better, fancier units that are good against Mass Stalker. Even lost the Mothership core. Pretty cool, huh? This Warp Prism has the option to join with this army, to warp in with this army. It also has the option to do countering. Depends very much so on what your read of his strategy is. I mean, if he's going for mass mutas, you know, just warp in at the battle. If he's going for something slow, like Hydras, warp in away from the Hydras. The Warp Prism will let you exploit whatever weakness they have. So cool. Everything has now led up to this moment. You couldn't get your base up, you couldn't transition out, and now I've killed your base. Same exact thing that we saw in the last game. And then continued pressure. Well, because these bases don't exist, transitions to Mutalisks are going to be much weaker. In fact, transition out of Mutalisks to do something next is going to be nearly impossible, because you kind of need 8 gas geysers. And the only time that Zerg ever managed to successfully counterattack is the moment where he lost a ton of drones at his expansion and wound up losing all his subsequent bases. Getting chased everywhere, all day or a day. Pretty, eh? So pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. I think this might be my favorite of the entire game. When the whole army moves forward, sees nothing, and everything moves back. Just instinctively. Woo! Oh, baby. I think that's enough. When we come back, we're going to watch a game of Classic losing. And then we'll be done, I think. I think we'll be done. So educational.